Hi guys, my name's Thomas and I'm incredibly excited to be joining you all on this Jesus-Centered Life conference today. There's a couple of things I want to share with you today, a bit about my story, especially about how Jesus impacted and changed my life for the better. Two things I want to talk about. The first one is this. When I was younger, I used to lie like no tomorrow. I lied about everything. I was so good at lying that I would even play games with people. I used to lie and make people think it was the truth, and then I used to tell the truth and make people think I was lying. I got so good at it that it started to become second nature for me. And I used to lie about anything. I used to lie to make myself look better, to protect myself, for people to like me. There's a whole bunch of reasons. But lying got me a lot of good places, and so I did it all the time. And like I said, it became second nature to me. So I never even thought I was doing anything wrong. The second thing I want to talk about is something my mate got me into originally. And I remember we were still in the playground. I still remember this very well. And he said to me, Tom, if you want to be a real man, you got to get into this. And you may guess what he's talking about was pornography. Now, it didn't take me a lot of convincing to get into it. And I started to get into pornography. And this is the sort of life I was living. Two major things here, like I said. One was lying, and the other one now is pornography. And as I started to get into pornography, I realized my life started to change. And it started to spiral and spiral to a place where I never thought it would go. My relationships started to break down. I started to do worse at school. My focus wasn't as good. A lot of things started changing, not so much for the better. At the same time, I started to get into the party scene, the girls, the drinking, and everything that comes with it. And I started to sort of get down into a bit of a rut. And I never thought I'd get there because I was a pretty good guy before all this. But I started to go down, I noticed. Now, in the midst of all this, I also started a relationship with a girl. And you can imagine, because I was into all this, it wasn't a very healthy relationship. Now, the girl I started the relationship with as well, she wasn't in the best place. And so, very quickly, we were doing everything that a so-called normal teenage couple will be doing in a relationship. And again, it sort of went down pretty quickly. It wasn't the best relationship. And it got to a point where my girlfriend actually said to me, she started to realize that things weren't as they should be. She started to realize that we weren't really loving each other. We were using each other for different things. And so she said to me, Thomas, I want to take a step back for a bit. I want to stop everything that we're doing right now. I thought, oh yeah, that's a pretty good idea. Like it's a decent thing to do. We should sort of take a step back. But here's the thing. What I thought I could do, I actually couldn't because of this spiral that I was going down. And I did something I never thought I could. And that is I cheated on this girl. And several times. And why it's always a bit hard for me to speak about this is because this girl is now my wife. And knowing that I've hurt her in such a way is something that still hurts me and hurts my heart. But this is where we were at. And I remember at the time I was having a trip around Europe. It was your typical Euro trip. I was having a great time, drinking, partying and all of it. And I remember at the time I was traveling from Italy to France, and I was by myself at the time, and I called my girlfriend who was back at home in Australia, and she sort of said, hey, before you get to Paris, if you've got this much time, you should visit a place called Assisi and then Lourdes. Now, if you know anything about Assisi and Lourdes, you know that you don't go there to party, but you go there to pray. They're pilgrimage places. And so I thought, why would I go there for? I'm here to party. But then I realized, you know what? I haven't been, I'm not with anyone at the moment. I'm not traveling with anyone, and I'm on my own. So, what harm could it do, right? I'll head to these places. I had a really beautiful experience in Assisi, and then when I got to Lourdes, I had a really incredible conversion experience. As soon as I walked out of my hostel in Lourdes, I felt like for the first time in my life, God started to lead me. I ran into a person who invited me to come to a mass, and they started to, sing songs at this mass that I was familiar with from a youth group, and it really started to hit me deep. And I had the conviction for the first time in a long time, in many years, to go to confession. And I thought, all right, I'll go. And I remember when I was waiting in the confession line, there was this beautiful image of the Divine Mercy, massive image of the Divine Mercy, with the inscription below, Jesus, I trust in you. And I remember that gave me real strength. And when I went into confession, I confessed everything for the first time, everything I had done. And it really, when I got out of confession, I felt like I was flying on air. It was beautiful. And after that confession, I'm not saying everything changed for me like that. I still struggled with a lot of things. I still went, partying and had the rest of the Euro trip as per normal. But when I got back, I noticed there were little things that started to change. I was encouraged by my girlfriend at the time again, and a priest friend, to start going to a weekly adoration night, just for 1 hour. And I remember the first time I went to adoration, I lasted about 10 minutes before I walked out. And my priest friend came out after me and said, oh, is everything okay? And I said, look, I'm just sitting here looking at the piece of bread for 10 minutes. What do you want me to do? Now, obviously, I would never say that. It was, the Blessed Sacrament. But he said, no, look, that's fine. If you want to stay out here, have a bit of a relax, and then come back in and do a bit more prayer if you want. So I did that. Now, I was encouraged to keep returning to this prayer, and there was something that was drawing me to it. So I remember I came back the next week, and I lasted about 15 minutes before I walked out. Then the week after that, I lasted about 20 minutes, and got longer and longer till I lasted the whole hour. And then I started to actually enjoy the prayer. And it was 1 hour of adoration, but also we said the rosary in that time. And I started to notice that, in a sense, my heart was softening. Because here's the thing, as I continued to pray, something started to happen to me. I started, for the first time almost, to feel guilt for all the lies that I had kept, and in particular this one big lie of cheating that my girlfriend had no idea about. And it started to come back up. And as I started to feel guilt, I started to think, I feel as though this needs to come out. I feel as though I need to come out with all this. And then I quickly tried to push it down. I thought, no, I've been to confession, it's all good. No one needs to know. But as I kept praying, I realized, no, actually, I need to come clean here. This is the right thing to do. And this is, I really felt what God wanted me to do at the time. And so I did. And I'll be honest, it was the toughest day of my life. Before I went, I saw this priest friend for confession again. And I remember I had a really difficult time telling him what I had done, and I did. And again, he really encouraged me, and he really prayed for me. And I really felt I had the grace to be able to speak to my girlfriend. And so I did. I spoke to her about it. And when I told her what I had done, she did the best thing for me that anyone could have done. She dumped me. Then and there, gone. And why I say it was the best thing is because at that time, I had nothing. By that time, I had quit pornography. I had stopped going to massive parties, stopped doing all the things I was doing at parties. I was really starting to pull back and trying to change my life for the better. And so here, I got dumped. I had no girlfriend, no porn, no partying, no money because I spent it all in Europe. But here's the thing. Even though it really hurt at the time, I started to feel genuine happiness. And so for the next 2 years, the reason I started to feel this genuine happiness is because I now had no one else to run to but God. And so that's what I started to do. I started to pray more. I started to work on my relationship with Jesus. And I started to feel a joy that I never felt before. And here's the thing, the world will tell you, I had it all before, right? I had girls, I was partying, I had money, drinking, everything. I was loving life, as they say. But the thing is, I really wasn't loving life. And this is what I really started to realize now, is that actually, I'm loving life now. I'm really receiving the joy now that was promised me by the world, but that never came. And so in those 2 years, I started to work on this relationship with God, and I started to really feel fulfilled in that sense. And then something funny started to happen. Towards the end of these 2 years, I started to feel this affection for this ex-girlfriend of mine. And she started to feel this thing as well. And I thought this time, I wanted to do things properly. And so I thought, Lord, if you're really doing something here, I want to make sure that you are and that it's of you. And so I started to pray about it. And then I heard about this really cool novena, right? It was a 54-day rosary novena. So you do a rosary for 54 days straight, right? What an epic thing. But I thought, you know what? I'm going to do this 54-day rosary novena and try to work out whether I might be called to be with this girl again. So I did that. And at the same time, I thought, you know what? I asked this girl, hey, can you pray this rosary novena for a family friend, for a family member of mine who was going through a bit of a tough time? And at the same time, you know, I was praying for this family member, but secretly I was offering it up for whether we should be together. And this girl said, yeah, sure, I'll do that. And at the same time, she started to feel this affection as well. And she thought, you know what, I'm going to offer this 54-day rosary novena to work out whether Tom and I need to be together. So lo and behold, we're actually praying for the same thing without even knowing about it. Anyway, so as we started to pray this novena, and towards the end of the novena, I started to feel as though, yeah, you know what? Maybe the Lord is calling us back together again here. And so I said, all right, if that's the case, I really want to do things properly. And so I really felt that the Lord was bringing us back together towards the end of this novena. So I thought, okay, I'm going to speak with her. And I spoke with her and I asked, there was 3 things really I did. I asked her out on a date because previously I hadn't done that. We just sort of hooking up, and then we thought, well, I guess we're together. So that's basically how it went. So I asked her on a date. I told her that the dating isn't just for fun here. It's about, you know, looking towards marriage in the future. And then I said that I really want prayer to be an important part of our discernment of whether we're meant to be together. And she started crying. And I thought, well, I tend to have that effect on women, right? No, just kidding. But anyway, she started crying and she said yes, she'd like to start doing that. And I thought, that's fantastic. And I only found out a couple of months later why she started crying. That same day, before I had spoken to her, she really felt the Lord was bringing the 2 of us closer together. And so she said, look, God, if you want me to go out with Thomas, I'll do it, but only under 3 conditions. The first thing is he needs to ask me out on a date. The second thing is he needs to make it clear that this is looking towards marriage. And the third thing is he needs to let me know that prayer is going to be an important part of it in order for us to discern properly. And so then I realized that's actually why she was crying when I asked her out on a date, because I fulfilled those exact 3 things that she had spoken to God about that same day. And this is the thing. As I started to come closer to the Lord, I started to realize what it meant to follow God properly. And both of us did. I mean, since then, you know, we've been married, we've got 3 beautiful children, and we haven't had it's not like we haven't had any hardships either. We've really struggled, you know, for the first 3 years or so, we couldn't have children. Then God blessed us with 3 great children. Right now, we're in a bit of a tough time because my wife's quite ill. And so we're really trying to support her and pray through that. But, you know, we've had our tough times, but we've had some incredible moments of joy as well. And that's really the point of what I'm trying to say here is that, you know, I was living a life back in the day where, according to the world, it was the awesome life, like I said before. But then I realized that it wasn't actually that awesome. What the world promises me and what the world promises you isn't what you get. And then when I started to give everything to the Lord, when I started to give everything to Christ, when my whole life started to center on Jesus, then I started to feel this incredible joy. And the realization that God had his hand in this the whole time was beautiful. And all we needed to do was actually say yes to God. And that was where the real freedom came. You know, you think freedom is about doing whatever you want, but actually the freedom came in the fact that we could say, you know what, Lord, you do what you want in my life. And that brought me the greatest freedom. And that brought us the greatest freedom in our relationship. And that's basically why we're at where we are right now. And so if you get anything out of my little sharing today, it'll be the fact that all you need to do is open yourself up to Jesus Christ and allow him to work in you. And I'll tell you, he wants to work miracles in your life. I'm not kidding. He has worked incredible miracles in mine and my wife's life like no tomorrow. I'd love to share them with you. We don't really have time to do that. But without a doubt, he's worked some incredible miracles. and he wants to work them in your life, all you need to do for that to happen is honestly allow him. Just open your heart up that one little bit to Jesus, allow him to enter into your heart, and allow him to actually move and to actually guide you in your life. It'll be the best decision you've ever made. And with that, I'd like to say thank you very much. I'll pray for you guys. May God bless you. And if you want to get in contact with me, just visit selfishgift.com. I'd love to get in touch and have a chat. But once again, thank you, and I pray you have a great conference. God bless.